I'm Adam with Set Your Rent, and I'm here with Tina. Tina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Tina. I am the director of the Financial Resource Center of the village.
Wonderful. And so today, what we are trying to do is provide some financial education for individuals that are either looking for a home or just in general looking for financial advice. And so today we thought, who better than to sit down with Tina, since this is what you've been doing for how many years now?
I've been working in finance for almost 15 years. I guess
Okay.
that tells you how old I am, but
And specifically, what are you doing here at the village?
so at the village, my role here is to help my department, that is the Financial Resource Center, come up with strategies to help clients become financially savvy, more financially independent. We do a number of things. We have financial counselors that are certified through the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, NFCC. And what they do is help educate clients on their finances. Some of the things that we help with budgeting, we help with credit report readings, and then also we help clients that have a lot of credit card debt with debt management plans.
What are some of the normal things? Because I would imagine if I'm, in some sort of, concern with my finances, people are either just kind of by themselves or with their spouse trying to figure it out. Are there other programs and ways, or kind of the point of this interview is to help spread some awareness that hey, there is some individuals that help. Can you share a little bit on if they were interested in reaching out to you, what that might look like, and maybe the different ways that that could happen?
Absolutely. So if you were interested in working with us, typically a session with a financial counselor is tailored to you. So what they do is they look at your specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
We look at your finances. They would sit down and look at your expenses with you, expenses, what's coming in, and then your income, and then together figure out where you want to go. So most important thing I want to stress, and I've said this to a lot of people over the years, everyone's situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
With us, the advantage that you have is that whatever session that you have is tailor-made specifically
Sure.
for you.
And so, you've mentioned previously in earlier conversations that they can do, like a phone call, they can do it online, they can come in person. Are those kind of the three common options, and which one do people normally fall into?
So yes, we do have three forms of counseling services. We do the in-person counseling, we do phone counseling, and then we do online. Of course, with these times with COVID and all that's going
Yeah.
on, online counseling has really gone up, but it's just as effective as in-person counseling. So
Sure.
for now, the highest that we have is the online counseling, and then also we do counseling by phone. That is the second highest, and then in-person counseling as well. And
Sure.
all those three methods are just as effective. They entail just the same kind of service you get either way.
So how do individuals determine what is a good person in business to have this conversation with, to maybe have a little bit of trust with, versus some other companies, and I'll call them, I don't want to call them snake oil salesmen, but like, if you Googled like credit repair, I imagine that there's, a bunch of ads that are people like, oh, fix your credit and all that. And what just for my individual research, there's maybe a difference between credit counselors and credit repair companies. With credit repair companies, and you can educate me on this, is they're like, oh, give us some money and we'll, whatever it is, $1,000 or $2,000, and we'll improve your credit score from 400 to 600. And, but you got to come in with this, I'll call it maybe a larger upfront fee to do that. Whereas you might be a little bit different. Can you maybe, put that in perspective on, what kind of time commitment and financial commitment, you might be able to help someone out with versus, a online private company, since you are a nonprofit?
Absolutely. So yes, to start with, I will say that we are not a credit repair company. What credit repair companies aim to do is very different from what we do. A credit repair company, typically all they're doing, honestly, is just going through your credit report, looking for errors, and then promising you that they will fix that error for you. That is what they're doing. When you sit down with a financial counselor, two things to look out for. Number one, they are certified. So they've gone through the training. They are they have the skill and the expertise to help you with what you're doing. Number two, credit counselors typically work with a nonprofit organization. So with that being said, typically the fee that you will be charged for a counseling session with a credit counseling agency is very minimal, and then also if you cannot afford it, we will not send you away. Most of our sessions are free. They are covered by donations and all of that. So that is one of the main differences. And also with a credit counselor, we're not just looking at your credit report. We're giving you the full package. So we're sitting down with you. Like I said, everything we do is tailor-made. So we're sitting down with you. We're going through your budget. We're making sure that you're thinking about things that you typically wouldn't think about, to make sure that you're equipped with skills for now and then for the future.
Wonderful. So from the time that they reach out, and they would you would maybe say, and if they're like, hey, I'm looking for some help, what would their financial commitment be, and what would the duration of time that you like to sit down with them? And so I'm saying, is it $1, is it $10, is it $1,000, and then are they sitting down for you like once a week for 6 weeks, and realizing that there's probably a lot of different scenarios? But is that a fair question to just from their perspective on knowing what they're getting into?
So a typical financial counseling session usually lasts for an hour.
Okay.
Typically, we charge a fee of $25 for that session. But again, I will stress, usually we have donations and stuff covering that. So if it is something that you cannot afford, do not worry about that. What we want to do is make sure that you come in the door, and then we can help you. Depending on how the session goes, there might be other sessions that will be scheduled in future to look at what you have going on. So like I said, everyone's situation is different. There are some people that come and the one session helps them and they are quite equipped to do what they have to do. Some people need more sessions. For instance, if we have a couple that's coming in for pre-marital financial counseling, that will take more than one session.
Sure.
And then if we have clients that enroll for the debt management plan, and that is another side of what we do, for those, the relationship is going to last for a longer time, because what we end up doing is we end up negotiating with the credit card companies for you, and then making the payments on your behalf. So that will be a long-term relationship.
Wonderful. So if we could, I'd like to go that direction next. But for me, as a summary, what I didn't know, existed, because sometimes, whether it's in school or from, individuals, that financial literacy maybe isn't taught to a great extent on personal finance, and people can get into trouble with consumer debt or car loans or credit cards. And what I think is a very generous offer is, you're saying, for either free or for, maybe $25, you can come in, talk to a certified, professional that what your sole job is just we're here to help you. And to me, that is a very attractive offer, that if somebody's, willing to, receive help, because some people maybe don't want it, or there's a little bit of pride there saying that they don't want to go into it. But, just from that perspective, that seems like a very, very great offer. And so I just want to encourage individuals that are, considering it, that I feel like that's a pretty good value to be able to, even if there's one thing that they take away from that meeting, hopefully it's worth their time, coming in to do that. So then, maybe if we pivot a little bit to the debt management, if someone's like, I have, all of these different debts and I don't really know what to do, and there is these different things, can you explain a little bit more on the debt management side?
Yes, so the debt management program has to do mainly with credit card debt. One of the biggest problems in this country right now is credit card debt. There is millions and trillions of dollars out there that people owe in credit card debt. With the debt management program, when you do come in, a counselor sits down with you, again, does a session, goes through everything. What we're looking for, first of all, is where you are at the moment, and then determine where to go going forward. If you are in over your head, meaning that it looks like most of your income is going towards credit card debt, we have the option, and we are certified to do that, to negotiate with credit card companies on your behalf, to set a fixed monthly payment, a lowered fixed monthly payment on your behalf, to make sure that that payment is being made over time. So two things that are happening here. One, it's an advantage for the client in that they're going to have a lowered interest that is fixed over time, which helps them, because typically with credit card debt, it is revolving. It's a snowball effect. So just the fact that, okay, this is going to be lowered fixed at a specific time, you have a time frame in mind. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you know that within this amount of time, I'm going to be done with the payment. Once you're signed up for the debt management program, what happens then is, going forward, we take over the payment. So monthly, you will make payments to us, and then we'll make that payment to the credit card company on your behalf, showing that you have that commitment to make sure that your debt is paid off.
Wonderful. I think that's another fascinating. I know I had met some of your colleagues maybe a year ago when we were,
Yes.
first starting this, and I was saying, this appears to be a great need. And although, we're not in a position to help them, we're more on the home ownership side, but if
Mm-hmm.
the finances is a big piece of it, we always wanted someone that we can, sit down with. So I remember sitting down and having, a couple hour conversation and, personally then, invest, kind of vesting in, what you guys are doing and believing in your mission. And so I just wanted to say thanks for everything that you're doing. And, Sherry, before she left here, who was kind of, behind the scenes, was explaining a little bit more on your background. And I don't want to put you on the spot on kind of the village along with the financial piece of it. But do you want to explain, a little bit more on kind of the background and kind of where you've gotten today?
With regards to the village, that is.
Yeah.
So the village itself is about 141 years old. That's how old the village is. The Financial Resource Center of the village was established in 1976. So you're looking at about 44 years. The main aim of the program is to help individuals become financially educated. We are open to help everyone. Personally, from my perspective, as someone that's worked in finance for so many years, I've always said this, that with regards to personal finance, it really doesn't matter where you are. You shouldn't have to be swimming in debt or extremely poor to be able to gain some financial knowledge. It doesn't matter where you are. At any point in time, we all could do well with just taking a look at our finances and looking at what we could do to help improve it.
Yep.
And that is what we aim to do. In addition to what we do with individuals, one of the things that we also do is we actually do educate people in the community as well. So we have partnerships with some organizations in the community where we go out and then we educate them on finances and schools as well.
That's awesome. That is really cool.
Yes.
For maybe as we're coming to a close here, if there is like a first step for what people to do, is that usually to Google you? Is it to go on your website and fill an application form? What's like if somebody's like, hey, I really want to do something, what would you recommend as their first step?
There's so many ways to get in contact with us. Googling is definitely one of the ways that you can go ahead and do that. We do have a website that you can go to get in touch with.
And what is that, if I may?
moneyhelp.thevillagefamily.org.
Okay.
Money Help. So if you Google Money Help, usually that would pull us up. You could also call our 1-800 number. That number is 1-800-450-4019.
Okay.
That will get you in touch with our admin, who will schedule you with a counselor to help you.
Wonderful. And how I found you too was doing the same thing where if you can go directly there, that's the best way.
Yep.
Otherwise, if the only thing you can remember is Village and Fargo, I searched for that and and you guys I think were the top ranked up there, and then you can kind of just navigate through not only different counseling sessions, but then on the financial piece, if you just get into that, I think I saw a pretty easy way to book an appointment, or your phone number was on there as well.
Yep, and then keyword Money Help. So
Yep.
if you can't think of anything else, if you think
Money
of
Help is the good one? Okay,
yep, Money
that's
Help
good to
will
know.
bring you to us. Yes.
Fantastic. And maybe a couple other questions.
Sure.
How many individuals come to you in a given, what's the correct term, a week, a month, a year, for just making sure this isn't like they're helping 2 people this year. This is people that are looking for help, and that because finances can cause a large stress just on your personal physical health, on your marriage stress, and that it just breeds a lot of negativity. Realizing that there is individuals and companies like yourself that can help. What are some of the metrics or numbers for people that are actively trying to better their financial health?
So we are authorized to operate in the state of Minnesota and North Dakota.
Okay, that's good to know.
Last year, we helped about 1,200 individuals with financial counseling.
Wonderful.
We had 358 people on our debt management program, and we paid about $2.2 million in credit card debt, helped people to pay about $2.2 million in credit card debt. With regards to educating in the community, last year we did about, and I may be a little fuzzy on the numbers, but about 64 education programs out in the community. So yes, we are quite active. We do a lot, yes.
Great to hear. So when you said that you're certified in North Dakota, Minnesota, realizing that our kind of base is North Dakota, Minnesota, but as we're getting individuals that reach out in other states, would you then just refer them to someone else, or can you still technically give financial advice to anybody outside of the North Dakota, Minnesota region?
If you're outside of the North Dakota or Minnesota region, we can give financial advice. However, if it gets to a point where you have to do the debt management program because of laws and all of that, then we will refer you to another NFCC certified credit
Oh,
counseling
wonderful.
agency.
Perfect. So they can come to you for the advice, and then depending on where they want to go, you'll basically, lead them to
To
where
the
they
right
would need to
person
go from
in
there.
another state, yes.
Yep, wonderful. Any other thing that you think would be helpful, just for broadcasting, for a message that you like to get out on a daily basis? I know I tried to put you on a stand here and ask you about 50 questions in a matter of 30 minutes, but is there anything else that you think would be helpful for individuals to know?
I think that probably the most basic thing I will say is when it comes to your credit report, most people are not in the habit of pulling out their credit reports. I'm not talking about credit scores, credit reports. So
Okay.
if there's one basic advice that I'll give anyone, there is a free website that allows you to get your credit report from the 3 credit reporting agencies. The 3 agencies are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. If you go to annualcreditreport.com,
Annualcreditreport.com?
yep,
Wonderful.
you should be able to get that every year. You want to every year go through your credit report to make sure that everything that's on there is accurate. And if it's not, then get help in solving that problem. And if I know that some of the reading everything on the credit report can be a lot, it can be overwhelming, our counselors do that for free. They can
Okay.
actually go through your credit report with you to help you decode all that information that's on
Sure.
there.
Yeah. So I've seen different credit reports, and I would believe that I feel like I am fairly intelligent and can figure things out. But when I look at a credit report, there's pending, past due,
Yes.
active, whatever the nomenclatures are, and then there's accounts that are closed or open, but then there's still marks on them. And really, even I don't even know exactly what that means. I think people generally know, like, hey, I have a number, and I
Yes.
understand that. But once you get into the actual details, how would you recommend? Would you just say, maybe annually, just come in and just say, hey, here are my credit reports that I'm getting for free. Do you see anything on here that is? How would you classify it? And I guess maybe even for myself or for others, I imagine there's some things that are like, okay, this looks good because it's all good account or whatnot. But are there certain maybe red flags that as you're looking on there that you're like, oh, by the way, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what banking services center is, but it appears that there is a $3,300 collection against me, and I have no idea what that is. I would imagine that that's probably a red flag. Are there certain things that if they look at their credit report that you would say immediately pop out that you're like, hey, if you have this on there, it might be worth investigating a little bit more?
20% of the American public probably has wrong information on their credit report. Honestly, the most basic thing you want to do is make sure that your information on the credit report, for instance, is correct. Just your most basic information, like where you've lived, address, and stuff like that. With regards to going into details, the credit report is mainly laying out your financial history. So how many accounts that you've opened, the first account that you opened, if you see anything there that you're not sure about, what you want to do is write a letter to the credit reporting agencies and then dispute that. If that is too much for you to handle, that is what we're there to
Sure.
do.
And those are the 3 reporting ones that you're mentioning.
Yep, those 3
Okay.
reporting agencies, our counselors will go through with you to give you an idea, just to go through everything, to give you an idea with regards to what everything means, and then arm you with the right tools to dispute anything if there is the need to do that.
Sure. If I may, a common criteria that is often used for home approvals is what they call the debt to income ratio. How familiar are you with that and how the credit plays into it, and where you're looking at from a banking perspective, to like, hey, we don't want to lend to anyone that has over a 45% debt to income ratio. Do you work with that at all, or is there certain pieces with it, and that's just coming from our end on making sure that somebody's out of every $10 that they're making sure that $5 of it isn't just going out the door right away? I don't know if you want to explain a little bit on kind of the debt to income ratio. Otherwise, I can maybe ask the question a little bit more intelligently.
So typically, and this is a bit outside of the scope of what I do now, but before working with the village, my main job was in banking. So typically, the traditional banks, when they are working on a mortgage or giving out a loan, they're looking at about 40%, at most 40% of your income going towards your home,
Sure.
That is what we're looking at. You don't want to go beyond that typically. For when they say debt to income ratio, typically that's what they're looking at. So how much of your take home income is going towards paying this loan or the bills or the mortgage?
Sure. And so then all the other things that, there could be a specific one geared with the mortgage, but in general, you would probably want to consider that, hey, if I have a car loan and credit card payments, and those are, significant percentages of my overall income, I might want to factor that in so that you don't try to stretch yourself too thin and go all the way up to a 40% if you have another 30% of car payments and credit cards, just because then that doesn't leave much room for you at the end of the day, just so that you manage your own kind of finances, on that perspective and not setting yourself up.
Yeah, so we recommend that at the very most, about 40% of your income is going towards your fixed expenses. And when I'm talking about fixed expenses, those are expenses that you typically cannot do without. So your mortgage, your auto loan goes into that, your bills. We also usually encourage that you have something set aside for savings, for emergencies. So the standard typically is to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses set aside in savings. I know that is difficult for a lot of people to do, but usually I tell people start small. It doesn't have to be big, but start from somewhere. And typically when it comes to savings, what I tell most people is make it a habit. So make it part of your bills. So even if it's just $50 monthly, $25 monthly, have it set up so that the moment you're paid, it is going into an account for you that you're not touching. That way, when an emergency comes up, you can have money to help solve that problem. And as you work on paying off your debt and all of that, you can always go ahead and then increase how much you're putting down towards savings.
Sure. I maybe first got introduced to general kind of debt management by reading Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover. How familiar are you with Dave Ramsey and his, I think, what does he call it, like Financial Peace University, where he's, maybe has a larger national audience where you're more locally, helping those individuals here. How familiar are you with him?
I am a bit familiar with Dave Ramsey's method, and a lot of the things that he advocates are very good common sense solutions for personal finance. Many of the things that he advocates actually fit into some of the things that we do. So one of the things that he talks about is his 7 baby steps. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah.
Where he advocates to start with having $1,000 set aside in an emergency fund, paying off your credit card debt using the snowball effect. And by that, what he means is arranging your debt such that you're paying off smaller debts first to kind of give that sense of accomplishment and then also reduce the debt. And then what I just talked about, having 3 to 6 months of savings set aside. So he does give a lot of very good, simple personal financial advice that helps a lot of people and kind of ties in with what we do as well.
Sure. So he's got kind of his national radio show that he's doing. And I guess what I would say is, given that you're, nationally certified, follow, something and being familiar with this area, being able to connect people with different help, I think that you guys are a fantastic resource for people, no matter where they are in life, if they're just looking to help improve their financial situation, whether that's getting their annual, report, sitting down with you and just saying, hey, what does this mean? Or if you're trying to make a plan for the future, just coming in and talking with someone that, you've helped hundreds and thousands of people, go through this before. So it's always nice just realizing that you're not alone in this, and you can get somebody that can help you for, either free or, for a really small, $20 or something like that, just to get started.
Yep, and absolutely. And one final thing I want to stress is that our environment is completely judgment free. When you come in, the counselors are not looking to, wag their fingers at you or anything like that. It is completely judgment free. There are so many reasons why people are in situations they're in, and they're just there to make sure that you are on to the next step to improve your financial situation.
Fantastic. Tina, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. And again, if you want to check out what Tina and everyone's doing, you can Google Money Help. You can, book an appointment online. You can call the number that she referenced, and then we'll try to put a link to it in the videos as we do, just so that they can be one click away.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for giving us an audience.
You're welcome. All right, have a good one.
You too.